ago during COVID, my family and I picked up from California and we moved here to Utah in a new state, in a new place where I literally did not know anybody here. And I was selling real estate in California at the time. And my background is in education. So I was an elementary teacher for 15 years. And simultaneously, I had my real estate license after we had bought our first home. And so I always kind of was like super interested, would dabble a little bit, but it wasn't my main thing. But I always loved it. So when we moved out here to Utah, I've got 4 kids. They were all in elementary school at the time. And I literally thought to myself, how am I going to break into a new market? And that is where social media came about. And that is actually when I started Mariah K Homes, was 3 years ago. And I literally, the things that I'm going to show you today are like exactly how I started it and what I did. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of a snapshot into my journey. So welcome to Elevating Your Business with Social Media live masterclass, and we are going to get started. So my goal for you today is really to choose one social media platform to build and scale your business. Honestly, they all work. Every single one works. It's just showing up consistently and just pick one. So you can be on multiple platforms, whichever one you feel the most comfortable with, or whichever one you think, hey, you know what? I actually like showing up on this. Go for that one. So I would say pick a platform, go in and just get started with one. Like I said, I started with Instagram, and the whole reason I ended up starting with Instagram, some of you guys know this, but like I said, I was living in California. My next door neighbor had a small little soap company. At the time, it was very small. Now she's got her product all over the place and it's amazing. But I watched her build this business out of her garage, and she posted on Instagram and she posted on Facebook. And I remember thinking, like, if she can sell soap in her garage, like clearly this has got to work for selling real estate as well. So mom of 4 kids, I lived in San Diego for 15 years. Like I said, I ended up getting my real estate license 17 years ago. When we came out here, that is when I literally was dropping my kids off one day in the carpool pickup line. And I thought, okay, how am I going to restart this? And at the time I had my license at the brokerage that I had it at. And I told them kind of my game plan. And they were like, wait, you're going to do what? I was like, I'm going to start posting things on Instagram. And before you know it, people are going to start reaching out to me. And they literally were like, you've got to be kidding. Like, there's no way this can happen. So here are a few things that I want you to think about as we go throughout this. So number one, figure out what you're good at. What are you good at? Your strengths, your skills, and figuring out your niche. So for me, I just kind of was looking, I'm like, okay, my strength is I can be really consistent. Like if I pick something to do, there's a lot of things that I'm not good at, but I can be consistent. Like if I commit to it, I will go all in. So I told my husband actually, he didn't even know I started the Instagram account. And I started it, and he ended up finding out from somebody at work or whatever. But what happened is I started it and just kept going. And I told myself, I'm like, I'm going to give this a year. And if nothing happens in a year, I know that feels like a long commitment, but if nothing happens in a year, then we'll scratch it and we'll try something else. So find something you're good at. The second is identify your target audience. Figure out who you want to talk to. So for me, I like to talk to people who are in a similar situation to me. I like to talk to people who are relocating. I like to talk to basically I feel like a lot of times on social media, I'm talking to myself. Drop a comment down below on what you feel like would be your ideal client, your ideal avatar for that. Okay. The next thing is figure out kind of your story, figure out your branding in that way. And one of the things that I'm going to show you here in just a second is a way to optimize your platforms across, your profiles across all platforms. So if you decide that Instagram is going to be your main focus, if you decide that YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, whichever one, they all work, but figuring out how people are going to find you. So let me show you here a couple of things. The first thing that people ask me this all the time, Mariah, I don't even know where to get started, right? Like how do I get started in this? Have you, have you thought that? Because I had the exact same thought in the beginning, like, I don't even know where, how am I going to start this? So the first thing that I did is I actually went on Instagram and I just started scrolling through and looking to see what type of, really kind of seeing people that were doing what I wanted to be doing. So I looked at what their accounts look like. I looked at what their profiles look like. I looked at really just everything. And this was across all industries. So I was looking at different people, and I'll show you this in a minute too. And it doesn't have to just be real estate. Honestly, if you see somebody that's doing something that's in a different industry, you can apply it to real estate as well. So study their success, figure out their style, and then, really put your twist on it, and then just stay open. Stay open to what's going to happen. So here's a perfect example. This lady here, this is a friend of mine that I played soccer with in San Diego. She is a mom of four. She was a Division I college athlete, but she's in a completely different space than I am, in that she doesn't sell real estate. She is all about focusing on motherhood, motivation, and then she does like a fitness coaching program. So everything that she does reels that go around, recipes and all these different things, but so much of it applies right to your social media too. So for example, trending audios that she might be using, I could be like, oh my gosh, that's a perfect trending audio that I could use for doing a house tour or, doing whatever. So number one, find somebody who's doing what you want to be doing, and it doesn't have to be in the same industry. Second part, this is what I want you guys to do today. If you have time or sometime this week, whichever platform you're going to be on, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever it is, and I just use mine as examples so that you can see what's worked for me and whatnot. So ask yourself these questions about your bio. Number one, do you have a profile picture that looks similar to the way you look now? Let me give you a quick little example. I was in the airport recently with my family. We were walking through the airport. There was a little boy and his sister, and the mom was like schlepping all like backpacks and had all the different things. It's 8:30 at night. The little boy's having a meltdown, and I think mom mode just kind of kicked in. And I look at the little boy and I start talking to him, and I was like, oh, where did you go? Are you just getting home? Or, I'm asking him some different questions, and he kind of looks at me like, am I supposed to be talking to you? And so he kind of looks to his mom, and his mom looks back at me. Long story short, the mom and I start talking. She looks at me. She's like, I know you. And I said, oh, really? Forgive me. Like, where do we know each other? And she goes, I know you from Instagram. You look just like you do on your page. And then she like proceeded to tell me all these different things. She's like, wait, are those your twins? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Like this is how it happens. And so number one is have a profile picture of you that looks like you. Number two, your name and username. So you should have up here your name because it's searchable. And then up here too, wherever you are selling real estate, you want to make sure that you have your state or your area, your city, whatever, somewhere up at the top so that people can search that. I can't tell you how many times people have come to me and then said, hey, will you look at my bio? And I look at it and I go, I don't even know where you're selling real estate. Like I would love to, connect, tell me where you're selling. So make sure that people can find you with that. Your bio statement should be something short and sweet, but have a way to link back to where they connect with you. Whether it's Linktree, whether it's a stand store, whether it's, there are so many different sites that you can create, but have a way, it could be your own website. Have a place where they can reach you. We talked about location, some kind of emojis or symbols you can have in there. You don't need too many, but something is nice. And then, like I said, the keyword optimization should go up here. And then consistency with your branding. And then if you can put your brokerage in there, that's always a nice key piece too. Okay, same exact thing goes. This is my YouTube channel. So on this, it would be the exact same thing on your channel banner, whichever platform you're using. Make sure you've got your profile picture, your logo, some kind of little tag name, link to where they can contact you, any social media icons that you're on. And all of this stuff, it doesn't happen overnight. So this is just one of those things where for me, I started off on Instagram. And after I got Instagram rolling for a couple of years, I was like, oh, I think maybe I will implement YouTube and see what happens with that. And then you just kind of start, on the next one. Once you get one thing down, then start moving on to the next one. So here's the question I get all the time. Mariah, what do I post? So number one, when going back to your ideal audience, what would for me, I just think, what kind of things if I was looking through Instagram, what kind of things would I like to see? For me, I love making personal connections. I like seeing things about their family. I like seeing things about them because I like that personal connection. But I also like beautiful homes and beautiful tours and all of those kind of things. So I really am posting things that I think, my audience might enjoy and that are engaging. So engaging content and then strategic posting. And I'm going to show you a couple of things coming up here about analytics and times to post and all that of things that you can be doing. Consistently interacting with your audience and then post consistently. So I know you hear this one all the time of like, well, posting consistently, but really like if you say you post consistently for a month and you're posting 3 to 5 times a week, and then you take 2 or 3 months off. And then you do that again where you're like, okay, well, I'll post consistently for a month. And then you take some time off. What happens is that algorithm, it kind of gets going and then it takes a step back and then it get going and then it takes it. So whatever it is, however you decide that you're going to post, just stay consistent with it. I love this thought. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but it says, I trained 4 years to run 9 seconds and people give up when they don't see results in 2 months. Right? How often, to me, that just is such a good reminder of just really staying consistent and give yourself a time. And for me, I always thought like, if I know this is kind of a long way out for a year, but I thought nothing happens in a year. Well, at least I learned a lot. At least I tried. At least I did these different things. But what's the best that could happen, right? A couple of extra deals, a couple of extra, whatever that is. Think about the best thing that could happen for that. Sorry, let's see if we've got a couple. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So the next thing is when you're posting, so figure out your platform. Like I said, every single one works. It's just whichever one's going to resonate best with you. Number 2 is making sure that your bio, people want to know who they're going to be connecting with and talking with. Number 3, this is kind of moving into like some of the kind of the tactics of it. High quality visuals. Now I know people say this all the time. Well, Mariah, where do you get pictures? Okay, right? Where do you get pictures? So you can get pictures all over the place. So this is actually one of my neighbor's homes that was in, we have here, it's called the Showcase of Homes or the Parade of Homes here in Utah. And a lot of these pictures come from the builders, the architects, the photographers that are taking the pictures. And so This home was actually a picture of one of our friends that we go to church with. And I remember talking to her one day, I was like, oh my gosh, can I post your house on my Instagram? Whatever. She's like, yeah, of course. You've probably seen this one on my feed. But just in your local market, you can find beautiful images. You can even create your own just on Canva. So you don't have to overthink it. But number one, people like looking at things that are visually, appealing. Number two, make sure you're clear and concise with your captions, something that's engaging, something that's adding value, and have a mix of storytelling, could be humor, could be, some kind of call to action in terms of like, hey, you know what? This is something that just happened. Have you ever experienced that too? For example, I'm going to a white elephant, party coming up. And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm trying to think about all the different like white elephant gifts I've given or received or whatever. This was something I posted recently. I can't even tell you how many people DM'd me like, oh, Mariah, have you ever done this one, that, like so many funny ones where I'm like, this is amazing. So just having that engagement really helps your account. Okay, so this is kind of the what to post. And in terms of like daily posting, I will give you a copy of this too for daily posting at the end. I've got a QR code that you can just scan. But for me personally, again, figure out what works for you. I post 7 days a week now. I know a lot of people in our national group that post once a week and their accounts are doing great and they're really doing well. For me, this is just what I've figured out. So like Monday, here's my pattern. I usually talk about something that has to do with my family, my kids, my husband, something we did over the weekend. That's usually what's going to happen. Tuesday is usually going to have something to do with something motivational. Wednesday might be some kind of quote. Thursday, something inspirational. Friday, I'm going to probably be talking about my family again. Saturday is going to be something real estate related. And then Sunday, something personal. So maybe something I'm working on, something I'm doing, somewhere I went. And that's kind of the structure. So I don't have to think about like, oh, what am I going to do for this? And for me, I actually batch my content almost a month in advance. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy, but if you set up like a little calendar, I started mine on just a Google Doc. And on a Google Doc, I made a table. And on the table, I just plugged in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down to however many days are in that month. So if there's 30 or 31 in that month. And I just started, for me. So for example, like on a Wednesday, a quote, I can find quotes for the entire month very easily if I just, figure out things that either I'm listening to, I'm watching, I'm whatever, and I can get 4 quotes or 5 quotes for that month just like that, right? So then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, that day's already done, right? Same thing goes for family or inspiration or whatever those different things are. Say you're listening to a podcast or a mastermind meeting or whatever that is, you can start just plugging in these things. It doesn't have to be from something that happened just recently. It could be, hey, this reminded me of a time, whatever. Does that make sense? So that is basically my, how I post different things. I love sharing stories. A lot of what I share is, just personal information. Next thing is consistent branding. So if you look across, like, for example, on my feed, a lot of it looks very similar. So when people see, a post, things look very similar because of just the way the branding is. So here's a couple of different examples. This right here in the middle is my Instagram feed. And so usually if you, look through it, I usually have one post and one reel each day. It didn't start like that. It started where I posted 3 times a week. And then once I got 3 times a week down, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll try 5 times a week, So then I got to 5 times. And now that I just have a month's worth of content planned, then I can just, it's almost just, I've got it and I just copy it and paste it right on there. Same thing for your YouTube. Like if you decided you wanted to go the YouTube route, for me, I post, either on this channel, I post 2 videos a week. On this one, I post 1 video a week. This one is more of like an agent teaching channel. This one is for people that are moving into the Salt Lake City, Utah area that are relocating here. I'm telling you, if I had to start all over again, like I said, all platforms work, but if I were starting all over again today, I would pick YouTube in a heartbeat. And I'm telling you, the power of YouTube is insane. I honestly, I started this YouTube channel a year ago, and this one maybe a year and a few months. And then this one I started back, I think in either November or December of this year. The powerful thing about YouTube is it is searchable. So when people, next to Google, YouTube is the second largest search engine. So when people are typing in moving to Salt Lake City, relocating to Salt Lake City, right? Your videos, if once you start having the right tags and SEO that goes along with it, they start popping up. Here's a perfect example. This past week, I closed on a home that is 5 minutes away from my personal house. I had a couple that reached out to me. They said, Mariah, we have been watching your YouTube videos for the last X amount of months. We found this house in this area. We connected with you because, we've got kids. We have a feeling that you might know something about the school districts and all of that. Can you do you have any idea if we give you the address, can you help us with this? Right? I literally looked at that. I looked at the address and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could tell you the whole story about this house. And they literally were like, what? I'm like, this was actually a for sale by owner. There was a parade home that was right. And I just told them everything I knew about it. They were like, I can't believe this. They had called me on a Sunday. They flew out on that same week on Friday. We went and toured the house on Saturday. I'm telling you, this was 2 months ago. They needed to wrap up some things back where they were living from out of state. And then literally, we just closed on the house last week. This is a $1.2 million home, 0 referral fee. My ideal clients, I keep telling my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love them so much. I just keep being like, Eric, this is my ideal client. These people are relocating from the state that I want them to be relocating from. They're buying at the price point I want them by. At literally everything. They are so gracious. They are so kind. They all came from YouTube. I'm telling you, the number of reach outs that I get from YouTube compared to Instagram is night and day. So they all work. It just depends on, what you're looking for. So the next thing is know your audience, know what they are, know what they are looking for and wanting. So for example, back on YouTube, when I'm posting videos, I'm posting neighborhoods, I'm posting cities, I'm posting different things. I'm telling them all about hey, if you've ever thought about moving to Salt Lake City, Utah, here are 5 things that you should know before making a move here. And then they just here they are. And so just really knowing your content, but knowing your audience as well, will really, really help you out. Okay, this is me being a little bit vulnerable, but I just took these snapshots from last week, and I'll show you on Instagram, and then I'm going to show you on YouTube. So when to post. This is the coolest thing about these platforms, friends, is it will tell you when the best time is to post. It will tell you who your audience is. Okay, so this was last week here. Here's also another thing. Please, when you look at your insights and you see the number of people that unfollow you, I remember when I had 0 followers, and I remember I got up to 10, and then somebody that was my friend unfollowed me, and I was like, oh my gosh, why did they unfollow me? What did I post that they didn't like? And I remember thinking in that beginning part, gosh, that kind of stung a little bit. Now I don't even know who follows me, who unfollows. And there are a lot of people that probably half of you that I should be following that I'm not because I don't want to be following you. It's just because I never look on there to see. And so here you can see in this past month, I had 1,119 people unfollow me. And I'm okay with that because they're it's they don't want to be, they don't want to be looking at what I'm looking, and that's totally fine. But overall, I still had 4,500 people that ended up following. Here's the cool thing though. When you start looking at, like I said, this was the last 30 days, when you start looking at who's following you and when they are, like what times they are most active, this will show you when you should be posting on your account. So for example, 76% of the people who follow my account are women. And a lot of times when I'm a lot of times talking to moms. I'm a lot of times talking to ladies. You can see the time of day that they usually are on. I usually post first thing in the morning just because it's easiest for me. My kids aren't up. And so that's when I post. Here you can see even the age range. And so when I'm talking to people, I'm usually talking a lot of times to people that are, about my same age. And then this part I think is so awesome too is accounts engaged with. So in the last, month, this is how many eyeballs have been on my account that month. Can you imagine how many doors you would have to knock or how many phone calls you would have to make? This last week I had, here it is. Okay. This is what I always say, let social media do the heavy lifting for you. Okay. So I posted this reel last week and it got 47 hours of watch time, within the first, I don't know, couple of days. 47 hours of watch time. Like that's a lot of watch time. And for one reel, I'm telling you, my reels in the beginning, I was lucky if I got maybe 100 or 200 views. And I remember thinking like, why is nobody watching this? How do people get thousands of views when mine get 100 maybe, or maybe 150 if I'm lucky? Have you experienced that? Keep going, keep posting. I'm telling you, it just takes time. And if you consistently keep posting, it will end up happening. But I think about that for the number of doors I would need to knock or the number of phone calls I'd need to make to have 47 hours of people like viewing or, engaged with your content. The same thing goes for YouTube. So here's a couple of like my YouTube analytics. And my husband's a tax accountant. So a lot of what we like to do is like, just look at the data because the data doesn't lie, right? So look at the data. The data is going to tell you when to post, who you're talking to, and all of that. If you don't have either enough hours of watch time or enough followers, whatever, just keep going until you get enough. Because in the beginning, I didn't have any of this data, but just keep showing up and all of this data you will get to see eventually. Same thing, YouTube, I look at primarily, it's closer to half and half on YouTube, but same about age range. And then this is the cool thing on YouTube too. It tells me that my audience is most active at 3 o'clock on Sundays. So guess when I drop my videos? 3 o'clock on Sundays is when I drop my videos. And that's when I have the most hours of viewing. Same thing. This is bananas too. And this is why I'm telling you that again, every single platform works. I know people that have built an incredible business on TikTok, some on Facebook, some on LinkedIn, every single platform works. But look at this for YouTube. Okay. In the last 90 days, so the last 3 months, and if you haven't read the book 12-week year, write that one down, 12-week year. It literally will show you how you can break your year into 4 years. So 1 year into 4 years. And so that's what I've been doing. Everything's basically kind of been like 3 months. Okay, I'm going to try this for 3 months. Let's do this for three, and go for it. So this is the last 3 months. The YouTube watch time, 3,270 hours of watch time on my YouTube. I mean, can you imagine, like, it's 36 hours of prospecting a day that I shot videos and I posted them and keep doing it consistently. They all work Just figure out which platform is going to work best for you. Hashtags. Now, I know sometimes people are like, oh, Mariah, hashtags don't work anymore. They still work, friends. They still work. Mix popular with a niche. So whatever your marketplace is, I've got on that handout that I'm going to give you at the end, some different ideas of different hashtags, but they still work. I had I'm going to give you something that looks like this, and I'll tell you how I use this in a minute. I had a family from the East Coast reach out to me. They said, hey, I found you on Instagram and we're looking to buy a house in Park City. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. How did you find me on Instagram? They said, oh, we typed in the hashtag Park City and your post came up. And I went, that's so cool. I mean, really so cool. So whatever your marketplace is, consistently hashtag that. Hashtag, if you're in Houston, hashtag Houston, Texas, hashtag, right? So not every single post is going to maybe come up with that, but have your local market in there or whatever it is that you are trying to sell, because eventually your hashtags will start coming up with that. That same family that wanted to move to Park City, they actually found a house, again, like 10, 15 minutes away from my house. I helped them buy it, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. They're like, life's taken us in another direction. We want you to relist our house. It's already appreciated in value. I think we'll probably, list it for 1.5, 1.6 million. Came from a hashtag. So I'm telling you, it's just that consistency of showing up with it. And then interacting with content, we know, the more that you interact, the more the algorithm is going to pick up on that. And then like I say, posting consistently, you can't hear it too much. Even it's kind of like reminding the kids to brush the teeth. Like, hey guys, did you brush your teeth? Yes, we did. Okay. Oh, did you floss too? Yes. But honestly, like, figure out how often you're going to post. For me, I post on Instagram, 1 post a day, 1 reel a day. Again, it wasn't always like that. It started off for the first, I think, year and a half I had my account. I never posted a reel, not even once. I didn't even know what it was. Going into like the last year and a half, I've just done 1 of each, and it's worked out just fine. And then YouTube, I usually do 2 videos a week. Everything is batched out far enough in advance though. So I'm not on this hamster wheel of trying to figure out like, oh no, what am I going to post tomorrow? Or, oh no, what am I going to post the next day? Right? If you get your content batched out far enough in advance, then you won't have to, you really won't have to be thinking every day, like, oh no, what am I going to post today? And that's how I actually started. And so same thing. I will give you this on the right-hand side. Remember how I had mentioned like family, motivation, quote, inspiration, all of that. Here's some different things that for family, when I am talking about my family, I talk about parenting, travel, learning, family traditions, any adventures, behind the scenes, fitness, seasonal. So this kind of just can kind of get your brain going a little bit. Motivation, something with gratitude, books I've read, podcasts, masterclasses, trainings, conferences, success stories, right? So you get kind of the idea of these different things, but when to post, take a look at your analytics. If you don't have any information yet, it just means that you need to keep posting. And again, I always say, give yourself at least 90 days. You probably won't see anything for 90 days, right? So post. Then go back into your analytics, see what's resonating with your audience, see what they are engaged with, see what they like, see what you're getting the most views and comments and watch time on, and then post more of that. Okay. So you can tweak any of this, any of these different things. When I'm talking about real estate, sometimes I'm talking to buyers, sometimes I'm talking to sellers. I love doing property tours just because I've got a lot of that. Many people have asked too about property tours. How do you get so much content? I'm telling you. So when we first moved here, like I said, the parade of homes, the showcase of homes, go to the new homes in your area. Typically, most places will have some kind of new developments or just start touring. Bring your phone. Everything that I've done, I don't have a fancy camera. I don't have any fancy equipment. It is literally my iPhone and myself. And I just take it and every single video is just done. I have a gimbal. I don't even know how to use it though. It's so clunky that every time I'm like, I should really learn how to use this thing, I just go back to my phone. So you can make it as hard as you want it, but you also can really keep it concise. Here are my favorite time-saving tools. Now, these ones here, Google Docs. Like I said, I keep everything just on a Google Docs, kind of like a little spreadsheet with it. I use Trello. Trello board really helps me to keep things organized too. So on my Trello board, I'll have like month of December. Here is what I'm doing in the month of December for this, month of November, month of this, right? And so I just, on the Trello board's free, and you can have, I think, 10 boards for free. If you have more than 10, then you have to start paying for it. Canva, I use Canva every day. I edit all of my own YouTube videos in Canva. And there are a million tutorials on that on YouTube where if you're like, okay, I want to start on YouTube tomorrow, I have no idea what to do, right? And I want to edit them and you don't want to pay a ton of money, type in how to edit a video in YouTube for, editing a video in Canva. Literally, I probably watched 10 videos on that, and then I started editing my own videos on Canva. If you want to get fancy, you can start automating your things with ManyChat. Keywords Everywhere is something that I use along with TubeBuddy. These are two things that I use that help to optimize my videos in YouTube. So those keywords, you end up getting searched, and you're able to, those come up on searches. Instagram and YouTube are my two go-tos. And then Linktree. Linktree is a great one. If you don't have Linktree or Milkshake or something similar to that on your Linktree account or your website, put different things of ways people can contact you or different things that you are selling or whatnot. Again, Linktree is free too. Many of those other ones are as well. And then last, StanStore is one of my favorite ones now too. And this is where, people can register for different things. They can come, they can buy products. So those are some of my favorite tools for that. So coming full circle, I know I'm just like throwing so much information at you, so then you can ask me some things here at the very end. Today, decide on one thing. So like I said in the beginning, some of you on this call today know Kelly Ladwig. If you do not follow her, she is on the Instagram handle Home on a Nashville Hill. Kelly is one of those accounts. So on here where I said find 5 accounts that you like and follow them, Kelly was one of the very first real estate agent accounts that I followed. And I was like, oh, everything. I loved her stories. I love the pictures she posts. I like everything. And after following for her for a couple of months, I'm just like, how is she doing? Like, she is amazing. And so one day I DM'd her, she DM'd me right back. And I just said, Kelly, I love everything you do. Your account is incredible. I'm obsessed with the story that, your house that you're building. And I mean, the whole thing. And how are you doing what you're doing? And she gave me a few words of inspiration that were exactly what I needed to hear. And I was like, okay, this is like between my fitness mom that I follow her account, between Kelly Ladwig, Home on a Nashville Hill, and a few other accounts, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do this, but follow or find accounts that you like, and then, do your own spin on them. Choose a platform. All of them work. And even if you have Instagram, link it to your Facebook as well. This just happened 2 weeks ago. I have my Instagram linked to my Facebook, and I honestly don't even think about Facebook now because it's just not one of those ones that I'm on very often. But if I were on there, I know it works too. I had a family that just reached out to me, same thing. She's like, I love looking at all of your stuff on Facebook. And I was like, on Facebook? I'm like, I don't even post on Facebook. And then literally I was like, oh, wait, it's automatically posting there from Instagram. How, right? And so she's like, we're actually thinking about moving into the area because we want to be closer to grandkids. And I was like, oh my gosh, they all work. I'm telling you, they all work. Create a content calendar, batch some content, look into your analytics, examine your bio. Again, just choose one thing. And maybe this is going to be one thing that you're going to be working on all week long or getting in your mind for like your business planning. Like, okay, take a new headshot. Maybe you're like, you know what? You don't have to spend a ton of money. My headshot was done. I'm telling you, I'm telling you this because you can keep it this simple. Right behind me is the place where I literally set up my tripod. I put my cell phone, and that shot that is on my Instagram account was taken from my cell phone right here in my living room. So you really just don't have to overthink it, and you can always change it. So that's the thing that I'm like, you know what? None of this is permanent. All of this you can change. But if you just start with one thing, I'm telling you, it's going to snowball. And the more consistent you stay with it, all of a sudden you're going to start developing like new ideas and new tools that you're going to find. So start from where you are today. If you don't have an Instagram account and you want one, start it. If you don't have the YouTube account and you want, just start it, right? If you don't know how to do it, I'm telling you, most of these things you can find on YouTube or you can Google it. And I like to say that the only like if you the only way that you fail is if you don't try, and just ask yourself, what is the best that could happen on this? So no matter where you're at on your social media journey or your business, the national group that I'm part of, we talk about this kind of stuff every single week of how to build out a stand store, how to use ManyChat, how to set up your email workflows, and I mean, just all these different things. If you're interested in finding out more, or you want to build a YouTube channel and you're like, I don't even know where to start, let's talk. And I would be super happy to help and share what I know with you. This is the QR code for this little social media for realtors Kickstarter. It basically has those few slides in there that I've got and a couple other things, but what I post daily, and then also some of those hashtags that are on there that I use. And one thing that I didn't mention, but like when I'm batching my content, if I'm finding quote, like I keep this hashtag word bank, and then I'll just plug in those hashtags for that, post, and that one for that post. And so I'm not having to rethink of hashtags every single time, because clearly, and frankly, I don't have the time to do it. I don't want to do that. I work about 15 to 20 hours a week. The other part, I am running around with 4 kids who are, on a million different soccer teams and tumbling and gymnastics and dance and all of that stuff. And so you can build an incredible business in the number of hours. And actually, I was teasing my husband the other day. I was like, Eric, just think about it. Our kids are going to be out of the house in 10 years. If I'm working full time in 10 years, can you imagine like the possibilities of what could really happen? He's like, oh my gosh, you're not going to want to work full time in 10 years. But I social media is such an incredible platform, and it works. I'm telling you, it works for every market. It works for all capabilities, all ages, I mean, really anything.